Hey guys, today's video is going to be a book haul. I picked up quite a bit of books in the last 2 months and I'm excited to share them with you guys. They're all different genres, for different moods, different vibes. So let's get started. So the first book that I picked up is Kristen's Hannah the Great Alone, and I actually already started getting into this because I could not wait. I read The Nightingale a couple months ago and fell in love with it. It's such a beautiful story. It's incredibly sad, but so beautifully written. The story is amazing and I now want to read everything else that Kristen Hannah puts out. So I know this one is one that people talk about a lot besides The Nightingale. I feel like a lot of people talk about The Great Alone. So I knew this was one that I definitely needed to read next. The Great Alone follows a family set in the actual wilds of Alaska. This is a story of a father changed by the Vietnam War, his loving wife, and 13-year-old daughter caught between it all. It's a classic tale of nature versus nurture, steeped in layered characters, each with their own story to tell. The stuff that I've read already, and I'm not even halfway through it, is insane. I don't want to give you my review on it yet because I'm not even halfway through it, but it is incredibly sad. The next book I picked up, I actually got from Target. You can see the little sticker there, but it is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Ali Hazelwood is an author that I've seen people talk about all over TikTok, all over YouTube, and I have not read a book by her. I didn't really know anything about this book prior to picking it up. I just knew that this was a popular one, and if I was going to pick up an Ali Hazelwood book, this would probably be a good one to pick up. And Bride is an adult fantasy romance novel which follows Misery Lark, a vampire who is forced to marry Lo, a werewolf, in order to strengthen ties between lands. Misery, however, has an ulterior motive to the union. She believes that Lo may be responsible for the disappearance of Serena, her friend from the human lands. As Misery grows closer to finding out what happened to Serena, she also grows closer to Lo despite their differences. So I'm pretty sure Bride falls under the forbidden romance trope, which I am a fan of, and I'm excited to get into. The next book I picked up is Frida McFadden's The Boyfriend. It is a new release. Anything that Frida puts out, I will read. She is one of the authors that got me back into reading. Thriller is the genre overall that got me into reading again. But she is a part of that because reading The Housemaid just started a whole spiral for me into reading again. Our main character in this book is Sydney Shaw. She's a single woman in New York and starts online dating, and she thinks she found Mr. Right, and he turns out to be the complete opposite. There's a murder that happens in her building, and it's a young woman that is brutally murdered. And as she continues dating Mr. Right, she has growing suspicions that he may be involved in the murder somehow. Frida McFadden has such an easy writing style, so her books are always super fast-paced and easy to get through pretty quickly. Caraval is a fantasy trilogy that follows the adventures of sisters Scarlett and Donatella as they're given the opportunity to change their fates through a game called Caraval. According to their grandmother, Caraval is a seasonal game hosted by a mysterious magician known as Legend. I know a lot of people have enjoyed this, so I'm excited to see if I do too. Fantasy has been one of the genres that is a little bit harder for me to get into. It's always been harder for me to get into because there's just so much world building involved and it gets so intense and there's just a lot that goes into it that you kind of lose me in it. But I want to get more into fantasy because I know there's just so many good stories in this genre, so I'm trying to get more into fantasy. So the next book I picked up is Red Rising by Pierce Brown, a dystopian science fiction novel. The dystopian society of the novel has humanity stratified into castes identified by colors, with golds at the top and reds at the bottom taking up the most dangerous jobs and unaware of how far civilization has advanced on Mars. So we're following Darrow as he infiltrates the ranks of the elite goals. I actually saw Sarah Crowley post about reading this pretty recently, and I had already picked up the book, but in that video she had said that she didn't actually enjoy this, which scares me a bit because I trust her opinion on everything. I think her main issue though was the writing style, but yeah, we will see my thoughts and if I enjoy it. So the next book I picked up, I'm even just excited to hold in my hands because do you see this cover? Do you see the details of this cover, the pink dripping, everything. I'm obsessed with this cover. But I picked up The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. If you're watching this video, you definitely seen this book all over the place. It's been trending. Just at first glance, I actually thought that this was going to be a fantasy. I don't know why, like just even the title, The God of the Woods, I just thought, oh, this is going to be a fantasy, but it's actually a mystery thriller, which is even more exciting for me. That's the genre that I am obsessed with. The God of the Woods is set at a survival camp in the woods during the 50s and 70s. Two wealthy siblings go missing nearly 20 years apart. The story is told from the perspective of many of those involved, with some of the most interesting twists being the small ones that give you insight into the character's motivation. Obviously, there are many thrillers out there where there's a missing person or someone goes missing, but to have it written in a way where you're getting perspectives from multiple different people, I think is an interesting way to write the story. So I'm excited to get into this one. So our next book is another Kristen Hanna book called The Night Road. So the story follows Jude, who is a stay-at-home mother, devoted parent to her teenage twins, Mia and Zach. When Lexi, a former foster child with a dark past, moves into their close-knit progressive community, no one is more welcoming than Jude. Lexi becomes Mia's best friend, then Zach falls in love with Lexi, and the three become inseparable, upsetting the fragile status quo of the Faraday family. Until the kid's senior year of high school tests every bond and pushes Jude to the brink. The dangerous, explosive season of drinking, driving, parties, kids who want to let loose, and parents who don't know how to hold on. I know this is going to be another really emotional story, and it sounds like it's going to be a crazy one. The next book that I have is Alone with You in the Ether, which I'm sure you've seen around. This is a realistic fiction romance. Alone with You in the Ether is a messy, vulnerable story about two unusual people meeting, falling in love, and figuring out how their love can survive contact with the world and their own troubled past. I've seen this book all over the place, and I'm sure you have too, and I've heard nothing but good things about it, so I hope I like it. It's also not a thick book at all. It's a pretty short story, relatively short. The last book I picked up is A Torch Against the Night by Sabaa Tahir. Guys, if you haven't seen my vlog of me meeting Sabaa Tahir, I will link it below, but this is the second book in her Ember in the Ashes series, and I am slowly but surely making my way through this series. There's 2 more books in them, and like I said, this is the second book in the series. Picking up where we left off in the first book, the story follows former slave Laya and former soldier Elias on a mission to save Laya's brother Helene, the unfortunate blood strike. So you're having 3 different perspectives in this book. You're following Elias's perspective, Laya's perspective, and Laya's brother Helene's perspective, and I just know things are gonna get even crazier in the second book. I do want to get to this book fairly soon because I finished the first one 2 months ago, and I want to finish the series in a timely manner where everything is still fresh in my head and I don't forget anything. So this will probably be my next read. So that is it for today's book haul. I hope you guys enjoyed watching and maybe found some books that you're interested in as well. I will definitely be updating you guys my thoughts on the books I picked up and maybe do a reading wrap up at the end of the month. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in my next one.